This podcast is brought to you by the Texas Hill Country River region in Uvalde County. What's super unique about this area is that the Frio, Nueces, and Sabinal rivers are all located in the same county. It's like the hill country that you know and love, but really rural, so you're surrounded by wildlife. And life just kind of slows down out here, so you can enjoy the simple pleasures like campfires and fishing and just enjoying the company of the people that you love.
Go to visituvalde.com for more info.
Today we have Brooke and Jared with us. They are two of our guests. They're two friends, been friends, long time, forever friends. And last night we actually got to hang out with them a little bit by our campfire, and we're all talking and having a good time. And when they were talking, we could see some of their passion coming out for teaching and education and helping children. And even though there's a very screwed up system, they have passion to make a difference in children's lives. And I love seeing people's passion come out. So that is why we had them come in today so that we could interview them. So
yeah, and it's funny because when Leah said she looked over to me while you were talking, and she said, "We need to interview them for the podcast."
I was whispering. I looked over at him. I had my mask on and I'm whispering with my mask on.
She has her mask on and she's whispering to me.
And my eyes were going.
I'm like, what? I look at her. I'm like, what? And then she pulls her mask down and she's like, "We need to interview them for the podcast." And I kid you not, I was thinking the exact same thing. When just as she was saying, I was thinking it, but she said it, and I thought that was so funny. I was like, "Yeah, we're gonna make this happen. Like, we have to do it." And I'm so glad that you text me before you left, and you're because I didn't want to try to catch you next time. I wanted to no, I wanted to do it now. So, can you? I guess Brooke, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I'm just a regular old person, but I get to work with teachers all the time. I used to be in the classroom and was a regular classroom teacher. And over that time, I got into instructional technology and worked with my district and worked with my teachers there. And then we started working with teachers just anywhere where they would call and need us to help them work with students with engagement and using technology in the classroom. And now I am part of the friedtechnology team, and we go all over the United States and work with teachers and teach them how to use mainly Chromebooks, but all of technology in their classroom, because our passion is that students need to be engaged in what they're learning, because that's where we've lost kids. And teachers need to understand that they're still learners and that they need to lead from the middle of the classroom and not the front of the classroom. And so, yeah, that's what we work on. And then I hang out with this guy.
And this guy is Jared. And so, Jared, you're also kind of in the education industry, but you're not in the same industry as she is. I mean, not the same field.
No.
You're actually who she caters to.
Yeah,
right?
For the most part. I'm a classroom teacher.
Yeah.
And I am not a technology classroom teacher. I am terrible with technology. I am the opposite of technology. I'm 90 years old in a 30-year-old body, but we look 25. I teach ag, so I'm definitely more hands-on technical trade school kind of thing. So I don't really deal with a lot of the needs for Google and this and that. Now we do right now, but I enjoy more of we run a dog lab at school, and we run a vet clinic, and we do all the types of things that we would get to do outside of school. So the kids get to graduate with a skill or a mindset that they don't have to go to college. They can go to work, or even if they want to go to college, they can work through college and make twice what they would waiting tables. So that's kind of where I'm at, trying to get them prepared to go whatever the next stage is.
He didn't give himself enough credit.
Yeah, I really don't.
Because
it's like going on a first date. You always want to give them wanting a little bit more.
The truth of it though is that even with COVID hitting, there was times when you had figured out that there was another way that you needed to do things in your classroom, and you have become a very techie teacher. You figured out how to put your bitmoji on your page.
I did, and now we got bitmojis everywhere.
Yeah,
he's all over the room.
Yeah, isn't it? Interesting now that I know you were saying you're not a tech teacher, but everyone now has somehow or another become a tech teacher. And, you're having to utilize technology to the fullest with online teaching. Well, probably a lot of people are back in school, but in the beginning, it was definitely online teaching.
So you skipped over something that I don't want you to skip over. I want you to talk about it in detail.
Right.
Your dog lab, like when you were talking about that last night, that was so cool. And that was our moment when we looked at each other like, this is cool. We have to interview them. So can you explain the dog lab? Like, what is that and why did you do that?
So I've taught at 3 different schools. And my first school that I taught at, we have a big CVA program. So the kids go through and they get their certified vet assistants. They have to go in and do internship hours at vet clinics and everything like that. Well, that's the vet class, and they really don't get to take that until they're seniors. So we taught a class called small animal. So we were getting that and the kids going into that, to get them prepared for the vet course. And to do that, I started this program with the CKC, and they do a training program, and it's canine care and training. The kids have to have 20 hands-on hours to get that certification, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it is a lot. When you're talking, 60 kids, 20 hours each, 45-minute classes. So it does take pretty good semester. So we were trying to think of how do we get these kids hands-on hours when they can't physically go to the vet office. So I asked my principal for a second classroom, and we got dog kennels, and we were bringing in teachers' dogs. My dog was like the guinea pig, so we were doing bathing, nail trimming, and then I had to teach myself how to groom because I've never groomed a dog before in my life. Being an ag teacher, we clip heifers and steers and goats and stuff like that, but I've never done a dog. So I taught myself how to groom a dog, and then I started teaching the kids how to groom a dog. And you would not believe how many teachers have Yorkies. We got really good at it, but we just did it as a free service for the teachers. They got to bring their dogs to school, leave them with me all day. And it's really cool because, I'm a teacher and I work 13, 14-hour days. So if I don't bring my dog to school, she's at home for 14 hours by herself or in a kennel or whatever it may be. So they really liked that. And it really just started out as a grooming lab. And then at the school I'm at now, we offer, it's called doggy daycare. So the teachers can bring their dogs to school, and we only charge $5 a day. And, on a normal day, I'd have 10 to 15 dogs, and it's only open for teachers, and they come in and they can pay for the week or the month or, whatever. And that money, it was being earned by my students and stuff like that. I had my business class running the business, keeping up with the books. I had my vet class taking care of the dogs, and everybody got to walk them just for fun. But the money that we collected went towards my FFA kids to travel because our school district doesn't pay for vehicles, hotels, food, and stuff like that. So all the money that we brought in, by the end of the year, we probably made $1,200, $1,300. And that paid for all of the rental vans we needed, the hotels we needed, the registration fees, all for getting to play with dogs all day. I was not upset about it.
Wow. There's so much there. There's so much to unpack. The innovation and the problem solving for the kids, and then just the teachers alone being able to have their dogs in a place where they know they're safe and maybe even can pop in on. I don't know if they do.
During lunch, they would.
Yeah. The serotonin that is going to create for them. And because we don't always think about what teachers need, and you can only fill into children as much as you're full yourself, and just having your dog in the building, you're going to be happier and be able to serve the kids better, and the kids are learning. It benefits everybody. So cool. My mind is blown.
Great
I love
idea.
it.
When you jumped into it, were you at any point during that time, were you what am I doing?
Yeah. Well, the grooming lab was always my biggest fear because we didn't know what we were doing. We were kind of rolling with it day by day. If we get a dog we'd never had before, I was it's always that little fear of I'm going to mess up this person's dog. They're going to be so mad at us. So I tell them, I'd be real honest with them. Look, guys, we are brand new at this. We don't know what we're doing. It's free. So if we if we shave your dog bald, I'm so sorry. We messed up. It'll grow back. But there are days where, like with the doggy daycare, and you're trying to teach on top of having a classroom full of dogs. You're trying to have a serious lesson someday, and then you have a dog barking constantly. So there's days where I'm like, I don't think there's enough Aleve in this world for this program anymore. And so there would be days where I'd have to tell the teachers, like, hey, on Friday we're gonna not have doggy daycare this day because I do have to have, we have a test or something, and I need the room to be quiet, or I need a break or something. But it was really cool. Even then, like, I had a substitute teacher that I basically, because I miss a lot of school with traveling with my students, so I got a sub that was comfortable with having the dogs on campus, and she would bring her dog. So it was like you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. And she wasn't subbing for me, like if she was subbing for the teacher down the hall, she would bring her dog and I wouldn't charge her. And I'd be like, hey, as long as you're cool with running the program while I'm not here, your dog can come for free. And so it did work out well. So, but yeah, no, there are definitely days where I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I think we need to take a break.
Yeah. Oh, you go ahead.
I was just gonna say, when you first jumped into it, what did the excitement overpower the actual knowing, like the fact that you didn't know what you were doing? Because I think that's kind of a lot of people will not just jump into it, even though they are excited, but they won't take that step to, if it's something that they've always wanted to do, they talk themselves out of it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm literally the most opposite person when it comes to this. Like, yeah, I jumped right in and took it because you can't mess it up. It's doggy daycare. You get to play with dogs all day long. But like, I'm also the person that's like, I would be a great real estate agent, but I'm not going to do it because I'm nervous about talking to strangers. Like, I'm the worst, like, go for it kind of encourager. But yeah, no, it was definitely fun. And seeing, like, the kids loved it, so it was like, man, this is really cool. And then there was days where I'm like, man, if y'all don't start acting right, I'm not letting the dogs come back.
It's a privilege.
It definitely was a trade for trade.
That's awesome.
But yeah, I really liked it. We don't get to do it this year because of COVID.
Yeah.
So they didn't want all the foot traffic and the kids swarming to the dogs, and so it does kind of, like, first day of school, it was just me because we were online the first day of school, but I'm just sitting in this room that used to have 20 dog kennels on one side of the room and all these other things on the other side of the room, and I'm sitting there and it's empty, and I'm like, man, this is really mellow. Like, sucks.
Yeah. Well, okay. So many things going through my head. I want to pivot back to something you said when you were introducing yourself, Brooke. You had talked about part of what you do is teach teachers how to work from the middle of the classroom, not the front of the classroom. And that's kind of what I think he's doing over here. But can you explain what that means? Like, what is that? Why do they need to work in the middle of the classroom?
Yeah. So I probably one of the number one things I heard as a young teacher from a mentor teacher was that teachers spend a lot of time learning the material they're going to present to their students the next day. And basically, you're just giving a presentation in the classroom. Like, you're presenting your learning to your students instead of them actually doing the learning. So for a lot of years, I can say as myself, as someone who struggled as a learner in school, that was not a way that I learned from teachers. My favorite teachers were always the teachers that I had hands-on approaches and ones who I felt like I could communicate with and be honest and open with. And to me, that's leading from the middle, when you are with them in a moment where they share something with you because they learned it, even though you may know it. Maybe they looked it up and they read the same article, but they learned it on their own without you standing up with 6 bullet points on a PowerPoint slide that says, and then this happened, and this happened, and this happened. So we want to lead the students to learn instead of just speaking at them. And really, teachers today are kind of more in a position to be facilitators of the learning instead of the master of the learning. Because the truth is, this phone in my pocket knows more than I'm ever going to know. I no longer have to be the complete master. I just have to be the facilitator of what they're learning. And it is scary, and especially for teachers who have been teaching for a long time or have routines, or like even in Jared's Jared's department, he works with animals that are large and can definitely be in control of the situation. So you can't just turn kids loose and say, oh, go out there because it's dangerous. Well, it's the same even in a classroom with just paper and pens. Like there has to be structure and there still has to be these rules, and everything can't be completely chaos, but you don't have to just have a file cabinet and manila folders. Like it's time to find a way for the kids to work. And one of the things, like Google has a program for their employees where they get 20% of their work time to work on a passion project. So that 20% can turn into anything. And then eventually, like if it's a program that maybe will be bought by the company or turn into a bigger portion. And I just feel like if we give kids like that genius hour that's called, or give them a chance to, in the classroom, spend their time doing those sort of things, what they're going to come up with out of not only necessity, but out of their own passion and what they're going to learn. And that's kind of where we stand on that.
So I'm so excited. So passion projects are my favorite ever. I taught for a year and then I retired. And I taught art. And so there's a lot of freedom within teaching art. And I want to say like the last 6 weeks or maybe even the last semester, we focused in on passion projects. And so we had kids doing everything from like baking full-on wedding cakes to, and because it's art. And I said, as long as you can use art some way, I don't care what you're studying. If it's about basketball, fine, but we're going to do it in an artistic manner. And I mean, there was a kid that made, the cake, and I'm trying to remember, it was a few years ago. One girl made a book, it was just incredible what they were able to do when they had the freedom to do so. So passion projects I love them. Did you have a question? Because I have another question.
No.
Okay. So how, because we know that it's super important that teachers are leading from the middle, but how do you teach them to do that? Because I would imagine teachers are supposed to know. They're supposed to have the answers. They're supposed to know. So there's a lot of fear in saying, I don't know, maybe Google it and see if you can find the answer. And I used to do that all the time with art because kids would ask me questions about things that I wasn't trained in. And I was like, Google it, see what you can figure out, because I don't know the answer to that. But I would imagine there's a lot of teachers, especially ones that have been teachers a long time, that feel like they have to have all of the answers all of the time. So how can they lead from the middle if they're expected to know the answers?
No, you hit it. Like that's exactly the fear. That's the thing. It's the not knowing. And it is a fear, and there are going to be days you don't know. And there are days that technology is going to fail and that it's not going to work. And there's days that things just go crazy. There's days that the lights turn off and you don't have windows in your classroom, so you couldn't see the book you were going to read. Like you have to know how to pivot and how to work on those things. But the thing is your kids respect you when they see you fail. And you handle it in a way that they realize, like, okay, even Miss Lowry made this mistake, or even this happened, and let's Google this together. I mean, I literally for a living Google things for people at this point, like I teach teachers all the time, but even in a training, I've got people have paid us to be there to stand in front and teach them. And sometimes a teacher will say, hey, why is this happening to my computer? Or look at this. And I'm like, that's a new one. I haven't seen that. In just a minute, let's look at that and pull up an article and read it. And also it teaches and empowers them that's all they have to do if something's going wrong. And sometimes it's just realizing that there is the information out there, that they can find it and that they can do it. And just like what we went through working this weekend with Steve, working for the photography workshop and everything, it's just one small success is all you can have to build on. One small success. And my small success may be way smaller than Jared's small success. He may have had it really together and he made something really elaborate, but I'm going to celebrate it in the same way as the person that just figured out that this was their trackpad on their laptop, because that's a big moment for that teacher who's never used a trackpad, that's always used a mouse and a keyboard and a desktop computer. So you just start with those small successes and you celebrate from there, just like with the kids. And like, I know one of my biggest moments was as someone who just immediately jumped into educational technology, like, this is so cool, let's do this. Pick me, bring me the Chromebooks, bring me the iPads, I'll do it all in my classroom. And it wasn't because I wasn't scared, I just was willing to try. And I worked all one weekend after going to a conference, and I learned this really cool program, and I taught 6th grade, and you don't want things to go wrong when you teach 6th grade. And I pumped the kids up. I did this big intro first period. And somewhere between Sunday night and Monday morning, my free program became a paid program. Wow. Literally since I had looked at it at 6 p.m. on a Sunday to the next morning. And so now I've told the kids what their project's going to be for the week. I have begged from every teacher in my hallway to borrow their 5 Chromebooks, because at the time we only each had 5 computers. I've got them for the week. And I'm like, there's no plan B. What do we do? And this kid who never, ever spoke, like he was just really timid, always did his work, very nice. He was like, so Miss Lowry, like if we're going to do this, I think I know of this program. And like, he's like, can I show you? I was like, sure. And he gets up and he's like, can I touch your computer? I'm like, yeah. Yep. Sure. Here you go. And like he signed into this program. It turned out 2 other kids knew the program. It was easier than the one I had learned at my technology conference the week before. It was totally free. They just took the instructions I gave them. And then I was like, and here's a pass. You get to come back for the first 15 minutes of every period for the rest of the day to teach the rest of the
Wow.
And I let him, like he went and talked to his teachers. They all let him come in. He signed into the program. He showed them how to do it. And it's like, I'm going to step back and I'm going to let you save us, because you did. I only knew one program and this kid came in. And to me, that was probably my biggest moment with technology, where I was like, it's okay. Let them teach you. Let them teach you something too. Let them help. Let them explore. Let them learn and use those tools. And so, of course, I tell that, that story a lot to teachers. And I have some who are happy to see us when we're there, and then some that are still not happy when we leave. But that's going to happen. Like some people are just really resistant to change.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's a teaching moment right there.
Yeah.
And I think more of that needs to happen. People learning to step back, but it's more like, I think it has a lot to do with stubbornness and pride, and probably also the fact of you don't want to look like you don't know. And I know that's something that I have struggled with in the past, because that's a part of my, what is it, enneagram?
Oh, the enneagram. I don't know if y'all do enneagram.
Literally just did it this week.
Yeah. What number are you?
I think I was mostly 3s.
3s. Okay. 3 is, oh yes, that's what I am. Duh. 3, the achiever.
Yeah.
And we like love the pat on the back and like, yeah. He's a
And
5.
need things lined out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So he's a 5, the thinker. And, the core fear of the type 5 is not knowing and not having the answers and looking like incompetent is kind of the core fear of the 5. And so that's where for 3s, our core fear is not being successful or not appearing to be successful. But anyway.
Yeah, she's a enneagram
I love
guru.
it. I love it. I love it. But,
Have you tried it?
I've never heard of this.
oh, it's so good.
I just had we're working on some new stuff on our website with our team, and we were thinking about it would be fun to have everybody take that, because we've all done the color test, like what color are you, and are you a dove, are you an eagle, are you all these things. Like, this is professional development you haven't been through. They leave the ag teachers out of it.
No, they're like, oh, you guys go to the barn and like
look at the animal,
the fencing, and
everybody
learn
else
about how to be a better teacher over here.
Everybody else in the cafeteria is learning about what personality they are.
Yeah.
And we're planning trips with competitions.
Yeah.
No, so I love when you were talking about letting, that boy step up and let him take charge and letting him lead. Letting kids lead is so important. And I think about in my life, a lot of the most transformative moments that I've had were when bosses or teachers just kind of let me take the reins and let me handle it and let me show you what I can do. And each time that happened, I became braver and I became a better leader, and I had more confidence to do that. So just that one moment of that kid getting to leave class to go to this other class and lead things, like the confidence and, that moment for him was probably huge, because I know those moments in my life were huge. So I love that.
And you mentioned Google a few times, and I kind of overheard some conversation you were having with Steve yesterday that so I'm a little aware, but can you explain what the relationship is? Because you only work with Google, correct?
Mainly.
Okay.
We mainly work with Google. There's still lots of schools out there that use Microsoft products, and we do Microsoft training as well, but our company is a Google professional development partner. So we work pretty hand in hand with them when they're working with school districts. Like one of their big focuses this year since COVID hit is to make sure that the school districts that are 80% higher in free and reduced lunch have funds that are coming in to make sure that those students are equipped with the technology that they need, the access they need in order to continue schooling in this online platform. So we've worked with a lot of schools that fall in that category across the United States this year. But what Google does is they provide it's called G Suite Apps for Education, but it's now going into Workspace. And it is a suite of apps, Google Docs, it is Google Slides, Sheets, Forms, and that's basically your comparables would be Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, and that. But these are all based online, and the students have to have access to it. Now they can work offline, and they're all learning how to do that right now. But so we just teach the teachers how to utilize those types of applications for their students to work on. Because when COVID hit, and everybody went online, it became pretty quick. That's like we know how to get our kids to do research on the computers, but how do they actually do their work on the computer? And first of all, it was very much so just like survival. And now we want to switch from putting worksheets under glass to actually producing learning using technology and not just editing a PDF or, oh, my teacher took a picture of a worksheet, now I'm going to fill in the blanks. Like we want them to actually be exploring their learning and using those tools that have come through this year. So that's what we focus on.
So for those listening, Steve, we've kind of threw his name out there as if y'all know who he is. Steve actually is he's it's not his full-time job, is it? He does astrophotography, and I think it's more of a hobby for him. Steve, if I got that wrong, I apologize. But he actually hosted a workshop this weekend, and Brooke and Jared participated in it. And it turned out to be a pretty fun weekend, and we got to meet y'all and a few other couples and groups, and we got to hang out, and we really enjoyed it. And
we were the learners.
Yeah.
I definitely had no idea what was going on.
So how is that, being the learners for a change? Even though teachers are lifelong learners, but
yeah, they say that.
yeah.
For the most part.
No, but yeah, no, it's great. I do like to learn, and I like to do new things and explore new things. And I loved it, and I thought it was great. And we got pictures with stars in them, and we were happy.
Yeah, we were super excited.
They may not be Steve quality.
Yeah, definitely not Steve quality. He gave us like a 73 on that test. Yeah, I mean, we didn't know. I didn't even bring a camera to this podcast workshop. I was literally here for moral support. That's
true.
You're doing great, sweetie. Like, clap on the back. Like, so, yeah, it was really fun. I mean, I learned that there's such thing as not a JPEG on a camera. I had no idea what that meant.
I think another thing I heard you say that you learned that people actually came out here to Concan in the off season, not during the not only because I feel like people who come out to Concan, they mostly come out here in the summer, right? And I don't know if we talked about this before, but I had the same thought before I heard someone else talking about how they would come and they would come in the summer, but then they would come again in December, and that was just a foreign thing to me. Like, yeah. I didn't know people did that.
Right. Well, I mean, a lot of people who come here, you come here for the river, obviously, but you make a long haul. I mean, it's one of those, like, I mean, when I pull my camper here, it's a 6-hour drive. And I'm like, I'm not doing that a couple times a year. Like, that's a one time a year, go for a week, and then you do short trips the rest of the year, you know? Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I've been here 30 years in a row, and I've never been here in the winter time.
Wow.
I mean, even when I lived in San Antonio, it was like an hour and 20-minute drive. It still was like, why would we go to Garner? You can't get in the river. Like, you know, New Braunfels is 10 minutes down the street, and they have like things to do. Like, but no, I'm glad we did. It's such a different... Well, it's just a different experience. The trees have changed. There's, you know, you don't realize that there are other things to do besides sitting in the river all day.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we hiked the mountain and didn't die of heat exhaustion. We died from exhaustion.
Yeah, I was about to say
heat
not heat exhaustion. Yeah, clarify that.
You know, I don't know. We went antiquing. Would never done that during the summer. I'm like, okay, we're looking at antiques when I could be in the river. You know? So it was really neat.
Yeah. And the trees are so pretty.
What about you, Brooke? Have you been out here before around this time of year? I think you.
We usually come in September when it's still warm outside, like warm when it's still 100 degrees, but there's not as many people. So I do enjoy that. I really enjoy the not as many people. So we can listen to our own music, but it's really about the music choices. But this is the first time, like, you know, when it's cold outside and the trees have changed and it's great. Such a great pace and something new to look at. And kudos to anyone who hikes Baldy in the heat, because that would not be something I'm up for. No,
it's different.
Yeah. We used to do it when I would come camping every year. One of the things we would do is hike Baldy, and it was like our primer to get into the river. Like, you hike it, and then you come back down, you're just sweating and hot, and jumping in the river just felt amazing. Like that's what we did whenever we would kind of hike. You hike first before jumping in the river, and it's a different experience.
So I have a question for you guys, because y'all have been longtime friends, and you know, you're an active teacher. You used to be a teacher, now you're educating teachers. So do y'all talk to each other a lot about things and help each other, or we don't talk about work and we just want to have fun and not have to think about it?
A little bit of both.
It's our teaching experiences are so different.
Yeah.
You know, like I teach ag and it's foreign language to her.
Yeah.
And she, you know, like her technology stuff, and I don't even work at a Google district, which is like a sword to the heart to her. I mean, at one point my district blocked Google. Like, I was like,
and how many times have you heard people say bing it?
We have to bing something? Like, what does that mean? Like, so every once in a while I'll like text her and be like, hey, is there a way I can collect this information? And she's like, yeah, a Google form. I'm like, is there another way I can?
When you worked at your old district in your Google, we talked a little bit.
There was one district that was Google district, but then I was like on strike with that teacher, like those people. So I was like, I don't want to learn to get better with y'all. So,
but that does happen with my friends like that. I have a lot of friends who are teachers naturally. Friends.
Teachers talk about teaching,
and that's what we you know,
it's like
can't help but
you can't even go to happy hour and not vent about teaching, like or vent about work, or oh my god, my boss, you know, like it's every job. But I feel like most of the people I hang around are teachers, and we'll even say a rule, like we'll be at a bar and I'm like, all right, no talking about work, or you know, first person to bring up work buy shots or something, you know. But all of a sudden it's like
you just made all the teachers sound like alcoholics.
I mean, but it's just like, it just happens. And then all of a sudden we're 30 minutes into this conversation and everybody like stops and looks at each other and goes, oh my God, we were talking about work. And it's like, and so we stop and then we're like, so how about that weather? And you know, it's like, there's nothing else to talk about.
What do you talk about?
What do you talk about if you're not talking about work?
Yeah, actually, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's like, I wish I was an astronaut so we could talk about something cool.
Yeah, and something that I was going to say earlier when we were talking about like teachers and their fear, and in that, you know, it is about, some of it is about fear and not knowing, but a lot of it is, and this is definitely to all teachers' credit, is that there's so much pressure from the state and from administration and from the school district that a lot of times that's what's guiding the fear that teachers have. Yeah, I don't necessarily think that it is teachers are afraid of their own personal failure or their own fear of not being the master of knowing. It's the fear of it falling apart, and maybe someone's going to walk in the room and it's falling apart and you're going to be in trouble for it falling apart, or your kids aren't going to do well on the test, or they're going to ask you, did you do this? Did you do this? So there are so many people in education that are telling people what should be happening that are not in the rooms or haven't been in the rooms.
Or have never been in the room.
Long, or never been in the rooms. And it's like, this is not Walmart. Like, this isn't a Target where you can search algorithms and data and come in and be like, we're going to move this shelf and now everything's going to be better. Like, no, like these are people we're dealing with. They're children, and there's 30 kids in every class, and every single kid has their own story. You don't know what their mood is when they walk in from day to day. You don't know how they're feeling, how they're learning. They each learn different. And you've got this one person that's in charge of making it all happen according to the 30 people above them that are telling them how to make it happen. Mm-hmm. And so to me, teachers have one of the hardest jobs, and it's because they're just expected to make everybody succeed, and they're not always given all the tools to succeed with. And I'm hoping that this year, and with the increase in technology and the knowledge of technology, and with the shakeup that education has gone through, that's going to improve for the education system, because it's time. Mm-hmm. If you look back to pictures and see kids in single file rows in a little schoolhouse building, there's still classrooms that look exactly that way. And you walk into places like Google, Apple, even to Walmart like rooms where their big brains get together. That's not what learning looks like. And so why are we doing that for 12 years with the kids? They need to learn what it's going to look like in the industry. And so that's our goal, is to help teachers realize that things have to change. Things need to be on the move, and you may fail.
So what you were saying, it leads me to one of the questions that I had, because we hear so much about how much the system is failing kids, and with COVID, like all of the issues for kids and the issues for teachers, the issues for parents, like all of the bad stuff that's happening. But you were talking about everything that's happening right now, possibly having good come out of it. So what bright spots, if any, have y'all seen or experienced lately, or even before COVID hit? Just like, what are the bright spots within education that you're seeing happening?
I think a lot of teachers have realized that they can't do things the way they've always done it. Like, it's not possible. I do think that some people who are pushing technology, like, this is how you need to do it and this is the only way to do it, have realized that that's also not the answer, that there's actually a middle ground between the old and the new, and the paper and the technology, that blended learning is really truly where it's at for kids. And so having those two meet in the middle, I think, has been a bright spot. Seeing how to use some of these new tools in all the classes. I think that, like, teachers like Jared have been left out of professional development for a long time. Like he said, they tell us just to go to the barn, do our thing, but that's not helpful either, because they were in the same boat with all of the testing teachers this year. So why have they always been left behind? And they need to be just as involved with what's going on in the school buildings, because they're industry teachers and they're teaching outside of that.
I think the best thing that has come out of, I guess, COVID education is it was a reset for everyone's brain. Like, we all got to be reminded that we're human, and that, we don't know what's going on. And I really think that the coolest thing about it was we got away from worried about test scores and learning per se, to really look back and say, like, are y'all good? Are you good? We sat there, first day back from summer break in a socially distanced auditorium for a staff meeting, and my principal, she straight out was like, I don't know what this year is going to be. I can't tell you. I can't promise you anything. She was, crying, just upset. And I said, you know what? That's what everyone in this room needed to hear, that we don't know, and that we're not going to get in trouble for the wrong thing, or that whatever, because we're all reset. And in this school district, we haven't had a single faculty meeting that was talking about policy, or, it's been mental check. It's been, are y'all good? And that's the first time it's ever been asked. Like, we've never, as teachers, they don't ever ask us, like, are you okay? And so this year, the just the small check-ins, they pop in your room with the candy bar and say, good day. I'm like, yeah, we're here. we're doing great, you know? But every once, last year, the year before last, year before that, when I saw a principal pop in my room, I'm like, oh God, what have I done?
Be quiet.
Hey, get your books out. Like, look like you're doing something important, even though we are. Like, but now it's like when they pop in, you're like, oh hey, how are you? And they're like, I just wanted to make sure you're having a great day. And I'm like, that's what a lot of teachers needed, because that burnout is real. There's I'm in year 8, and year 3 to 5, I was like, we're gonna find out what else we're good at, because this is not it. and someone's like, do you like teaching? I'm like, yeah, I love teaching. They're like, oh, do you see yourself retiring from it? I'm like, probably not, because I'll work till I'm 90 and then be able to afford a Cracker Jack box. Like, so, I don't think a lot of teachers feel that, like, you can keep going, you can keep doing it, because we've never had that mental support or that care. It's always been a test score, or I'm not a core teacher, and I don't get to talk about testing and things like that, because I've never had pressure put on me. But I can definitely see where those teachers are just, because great, we still have STAR test this year. Why? What is the point of that test? Those kids don't learn from it. That test does nothing but show politicians' numbers. And you can't expect those teachers right now to do that. Like, I hate testing.
Yeah, there's definitely more community involvement, upper management, administration involvement this year. There's more parent involvement. Parents are talking to teachers more. They're understanding more what goes on in the school day, because it's happening at home. And so education has been turned over upside down and shook and put back up.
And it's really made kids grow up and take charge of their education. They're so non-passive anymore. They used to just roll through, they'd come to class, do their thing. And now, I probably get 50 emails a day from students. Hey, just making sure I did this right, or I can't get this to work, because, 2 years ago, a kid couldn't figure out homework. They just wouldn't do it. Or they'd come in the next day and say, oh, I couldn't figure it out. But now it's like the minute they don't get it, they're messaging me, and I'm like, oh, hey, thanks for reaching out, and parents are the same way. And they're like, hey, we're sitting here looking at this and it's not working. And I'm like, okay, it's working now. And it's those quick little fixes that I think that it's made those kids to kind of take charge instead of being the kid. Now they're an adult, educated, it's pretty neat.
I think that's so fascinating and good to hear that there's been a shift in your workplace with administrators and the teachers, and that relationship, and your principal saying what she said, and that just kind of taking off all that burden off your shoulders.
Yes.
Like, I kind of, when you were telling that, I was like, oh man, that gave me the chills, because I'm not a teacher. I don't know anything about teaching other than some teachers that I've spoke to in the past, and they all have that same outlook, where they have to deal with the administrators, and then they they're always on tippy toes around them and whatnot, and so that's stuff that I've heard, but so I can somewhat understand what you're saying. But it's so awesome that happened, and that's a good thing that came out of COVID. And I think that's there's a lot of little gems to take out of this, and it's just a matter of mining them out. And I think that's kind of what is that what your question you were trying to get out?
Absolutely. Yeah. Because we've heard about, like I said, just how hard it's been on teachers, and it's so valid and it's so true. It's been so hard on teachers and kids and parents, but maybe things needed to be turned upside down so that we could kind of attack a system that has been failing all of us for so long. And so that kind of also leads me to my next and probably last question is what, and we touched on it a little bit, but what is your hope for the future of education and the school system? Like, what are you really hoping for personally, or even, as a whole?
Have you ever seen the Jetsons?
Yeah.
That's my hope. Like Rosie and flying through the air. No, just kidding. I guess my hope is just that kids enjoy coming to school, and that no matter what story the kid's coming to school with, or how the creator created them, or who they are, that they come to school and it's a safe place and they get to learn and they get to understand that whoever they are and whatever their potential is, that they can make it, and this is who they can be. And I feel that that is the biggest message that teachers can give to students. And I don't mean that to sound like all like, oh, so like free loving, and but it is, because you become the core of who you are in a classroom with somebody who doesn't necessarily love you, but that's a teacher's role. And I'm huge into social emotional learning and the love languages, and like teachers should build relationships with their students no matter what kind of kid they are, and know how they tick, and know their story, and know what their love languages are, and try to fill their tanks. And that is what's going to make a student successful. And I feel like no matter if it's with paper or with computers or anything, like people just need to know that they're important, and that they can learn, and that they can fulfill any potential if they're given the avenues to do it.
Really, down the road, I would love for schools to stop pushing kids to be academic.
Yeah.
I want them to be human. So, not every kid is going to college. Not every kid can afford college or is academically ready for college. But, there needs to be equity across everywhere, education-wise. And one school should not offer more than another school because of where they're at or the funding they receive. A school in Leakey, Texas should not be, so poor that they can't afford, to have an auto shop and a cosmetology program, a culinary program. Just being I've always taught in the city of Houston area, San Antonio, big schools, and you see them having state-of-the-art culinary programs and AV workshops, and there's 50 MacBooks sitting in the AV room, and it's like these kids are getting a great opportunity. Other kids aren't. So I would love to see just a flat equity across the board, that every kid has that option or gets to learn something that they could do outside of college or whatever it may be. I guess that's why I like teaching career technology education. So that way, 90% of the kids that I teach are either going to go into a trade, or they're going to go into some sort of self-made, whether it be a farmer or a veterinarian. You got two drastic sides of it. So it's just like, I talk about the stuff that, the dogs daycare and the vet program, and people are like, you'll have that at school, in high school? I can't tell you how many times I've told people that story, and they're like, my school did not have that, or nothing like that, and I'm like, wow, I would have never thought that, how do they not have that, So it's just, I would like that every kid have that opportunity.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we really enjoyed it, and this was so last minute. We decided to do this last night, and we were sitting around the campfire and say, all right, let's do it. And this morning we were rushing to get everything together. But yes, thank y'all for doing this. Thank you so much. And for, accommodating us with your schedules. And Brooke, your business, which you talked about already. What is it called? And if anyone wanted to get a hold of you, how would they do that?
Our company is called Friedtechnology, because everything's better fried. So we're friedtechnology. It's all one word, friedtechnology.com, just exactly like it sounds. And you can find us anywhere on any social media or our website. And we're available for any schools that want us to come out and work with your teachers or do anything for them. And it's definitely our passion. We've got a good crew of ladies, and we just have our first gentleman on the team, and I'm really excited for him to start. And but yeah, we would love that. We love teachers. We connected with people that are here, like Jared was saying earlier, teachers get together, that's what they're going to talk about. So we made those connections here. And for everyone who's listening, y'all must come stay at the In Between.
Right?
Not only because it's the greatest name for any little cabin area ever, but seriously, we have enjoyed so much. And you guys and just the whole experience has been wonderful. It was exactly what we needed this weekend.
Yes. Oh, good.
One little side note, fix the coffee maker while we're
We gave poor Jake a hard time about his very fancy coffee pot. And this probably just totally is going to make us sound like everything we just said about people should be learners. We did learn how to use the coffee pot. It may have taken the instruction manual.
It was all morning about a 15-minute coffee.
Yeah.
No.
But was it good coffee?
It was great coffee.
See, then that's all that matters.
Was it worth it once it started working? So Jared, if anybody wants to reach out to you, if any ag teachers or teachers who want to start something that maybe their school has never had before, like a program like what you did, where can they find you? Or can they find you?
Oh, I'm everywhere. No, I mean, really, all the people that reach out to me for the ag stuff, like we have a pretty good community on Facebook. Like we have a group called Ag Teacher Buddies, and we use it as an open forum. And I have helped many friends start that program at their school. So yeah, I mean, they'll find me.
So Ag Teacher Buddies is where to look for you?
Or just Facebook me, Jared Lynch.
Okay.
Awesome. Well, thank y'all so much again, and we hope to see y'all again back here soon, whether it's in the summer or this time.
Get that Mangonada bus going here in June.
Yes.
All right, guys, and thank y'all for listening. This is the end.